Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale. Today gonna do a very fun video. We're gonna compare old Trifecta with new Trifecta from the pro Jordan, who actually debuted on my channel many months ago now, sharing the original Trifecta deck. He had a lot of success with it. You guys who have been with me for quite a while now in Clash Royale probably remember that he went head-to-head in a Trifecta showdown, which really was the very first Pro v Pro video that I ever did. So we're gonna have a lot of fun today, and more so than just having fun, I hope to really show you guys the new Trifecta, which essentially just replaces the Valkyrie with the Ice Golem. But we're really gonna get into the nitty-gritty and the details, tell you guys how to play the deck and hopefully how to have a lot of success with it. It's a great deck. It's one of my personal favorite decks out of all the ones that I've shared recently, even over the Lava Loon. I really like the new Trifecta, but we're gonna get to that towards the second half of the video, and the first two replays is going to be old school Trifecta. And I say old school, but don't get me wrong guys, it actually is viable now, especially when you think about the current meta. What are the two dominant cards in the meta that everybody always complains about? One is Graveyard, two is Elite Barbarians, and she does a pretty good job of being against both of those cards. Granted, she can't take out the Elite Barbarians on her own, but she has a hearty amount of HP, and in conjunction with other cards such as the Musketeer or even the Log, and basically cards that can buy you more time, she actually holds her own pretty well. So having the Valkyrie in this classic Trifecta deck is actually a good move now. It's not a liability. In the previous meta, remember, before Elite Barbarians were dominant, when everybody was running like Goizen and these big tanky golem decks, Valkyrie, not too useful, but now you can actually find a solid use for her in the deck, and she becomes a really powerful counter card now. Now, all that said, I still prefer the Ice Golem version, and I'm going to talk about why when we get to those replays, and I'm going to share Jordan's pro tips. But let's talk a little bit about the fundamentals of a classic Trifecta deck, and of course, for those of you who might not know what Trifecta even is, it is the Musketeer, the Valkyrie, and the Hog Rider. When you play them all in a good offensive push, sorry about that notification, guys, just downloaded the YouTube Creator app, and I have not turned notifications off yet. But anyway, the Trifecta. So it's a really good combination, mainly because more often than not, you're going to be using your Musketeer and maybe even your Valkyrie defensively. Hopefully, with the aid of the Crown Tower, they're going to stay alive, and once they defend, you combo them with the Hog Rider on offense, and boom, you've got a good Trifecta push going. And why is a Trifecta push so dang good? Well, think about it, right? You have the AoE splash damage of the Valkyrie in her whirlwind attack. You have the Musketeer doing the air point damage in case your opponent counters with, say, a minion or a mega minion. And of course, you have the Hog Rider who's going to get right to that tower. No matter what your opponent drops to counter your Hog Rider, you're going to have a pretty good answer for it. So that's why the Trifecta remains really strong offensively. Now, defensively, you have the Cannon, you have the Ice Spirit here, you have, of course, the Poison as well, which can be used both defensively and offensively, primarily offensively, but you have the Log as well. You really have a lot of cheap answers defensively, and you can see how tactfully Jordan there used his cannon to really keep that giant away from his tower almost the entire match. He was even going up against double giants there. No big deal for Jordan, no big deal. So we're going to play one more match with the old school Trifecta, and I want you guys to comment below. Have you guys given up on Trifecta? Have you tried it recently? If you have, let me know below. Have you had success with it? Have you not? Do you think it still sucks? Do you think it's good now? I'll be honest with you guys, this is not a shot at any other YouTuber specifically, but I've seen some YouTubers try to kind of relive the magic of the Trifecta in metas, previous metas, where it's just not been too good, and I've kind of, rolled my eyes like, okay, they're trying to cash in on a big name strategy, but it's just not good in this meta, and something that I kind of pride myself in, hopefully you guys, hopefully I proved myself to you guys, is not sharing decks that aren't effective in the current meta. Even though everybody likes non-meta decks, it doesn't make sense to share a deck that just doesn't work at all. So let's see how Jordan deals with the Royal Giant deck here, and this is going to be a really nice play. He's going to reset that in Royal Giant there with the Ice Spirit. Remember, Ice Spirit resets targeting, the Lightning resets targeting, Electro Wizard resets targeting, and of course, the Zap Spell resets targeting. So you have a lot of options there to deal with a Royal Giant. You can choose any of which no matter what deck you're playing, but the idea idea here is to be patient. You can see Jordan waited for the opponent to go ahead and play that log, then he played the Ice Spirit safely in the corner, was able to reset that RG, and then defend from there. So let's talk about probably the most important part of the Trifecta deck, and really it's the most important part of any deck that you're going to play the Elixir Pump in, and that is remembering to actually use it, okay? So you're playing it for a reason, guys. I notice that some players, and I'm going to go ahead and put my hand up and admit to you guys that I've done this in the past too when I played decks with the Elixir Collector, especially after maybe not playing it for a while. Sometimes, especially going into the last minute when it's double Elixir time, you just don't play the pump. But remember, guys, you have the pump in your deck for a reason. Don't be afraid to use it, especially if the match is still really close, saying that you don't need maybe just a few hundred HP off the tower. Of course, there are times just to be aggressive and go for the kill, and there are other times where you just want to continue to reset. There's no rush, especially in tournament play when there's a whole 3 minutes of overtime. It's true that you do have to be careful because the opponent has double elixir production to take advantage of your play, but at the same time, if you find yourself with the opportunity, don't be afraid to use it. So, Elixir Collector, don't be afraid to use it. Now here at the end of this match, Jordan's going to go ahead and finish off with the proverbial Trifecta. The Elite Barbarian's not scaring him. He puts down that poison spell. He has the Valkyrie to distract the Elite Barbarians. He goes ahead with 5 seconds or 6 seconds left, or whatever it was, and pulls off the victory there. So you can see most of these matches with the Trifecta, as it was back in the day, are going to be 1-0 victories or 2-1 victories. This is not a power deck where you're going to be pulling down a lot of 3 crowns. So now let's move into the good stuff, the new Trifecta with the Ice Golem. So I'll be honest with you guys, I was a little hesitant to call this the new Trifecta because, you know, it's not Trifecta without the Valkyrie, right? But Jordan calls it the new Trifecta, and Jordan's a way better player than I am, so I'm gonna go with what he calls it. So this is the new Trifecta. Of course, the Ice Golem is substituted for the Valkyrie, and in this iteration of the deck, there is no pump needed because you don't need an elixir pump in a 2.6 elixir deck, and that's what this is. We do have the skeletons as well in this deck, so it's a very, very fast deck. So with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and move into Jordan's specific pro tips for this deck. Now, if you want to follow Jordan, he often writes up these very elaborate guides, and then he screenshots them in notes and then puts them on Twitter. So some of you might be better visual learners, some of you might be better audible learners. Me, myself, I prefer audio, but you might not be like me. So if you want to read some of these write-ups, go ahead and follow Jordan at Jordan C Royale. So at Jordan C Royale. So let me go ahead and get into his tips here. So this deck is a combination of Trifecta and Hog Cycle, as evidenced by the cards in it. The main goal is to outcycle your opponent as a typical cycle deck and make good trades on defense. A good starting play using this deck is the Musketeer behind the King Tower. That would really be his ideal starting play. A close second would be the Hog in a quick push. Now, if you aren't confident about your starting hand, just wait and let them make the first move, and that's really good advice for any deck that you're playing. If they start off with a tank, you might be able to go ahead and use an Ice Golem Hog push or an Ice Spirit Hog push. And for those of you who might not know the ideal way to do an Ice Golem Hog push, pay attention, right? So you want to play your Ice Golem about 1 tile to the, let's say you're going to push in the right lane. Play the Ice Golem 1 tile to the right of the bridge, wait about 1 second, so 1 second as the Ice Golem moves towards the center of the bridge, and then place your Hog Rider on the same exact tile that you originally placed the Ice Golem. That's going to do both a pig push to avoid opposite side buildings. It's also going to go ahead and allow your Hog Rider to push the Ice Golem as cover right into the tower. And I'm sure we all know that feeling when the Hog is pushing the Ice Golem down the lane at supersonic speed. It's very difficult to counter. The opponent has to think very, very fast on their toes. So that is how you do a push with the Ice Golem. With the Ice Spirit, when you're doing a Hog push, and this really applies to any deck, not just the new Trifecta, but what you want to do with an Ice Spirit is play the Ice Spirit all the way, again, let's pretend you're pushing in the right lane, all the way up into the the right-hand corner as far as you can possibly go towards the river to the right of the bridge. You wait about half a second again, then you place the Hog Rider right afterwards on the same square as the Ice Spirit, again as far to the right or to the left if you're in the left lane as possible. Again, that's going to help you avoid buildings in the opposite side, and look at that, very nice victory there by Jordan. The opponent barely even touched his towers. Now let's talk about the defense on this deck, because that's really where this deck shines. And instead of talking in generalities, I want to be very specific for you guys on these countering methods in this deck. So let's start with the popular meta cards, the Elite Barbarians. This deck has a very tried and true, simple method to counter the Elite Barbarians as long as your placement is right. So we're going to get very specific here, so pay attention. Okay, so the Elite Barbarians are coming your way. They're just about to cross the bridge. What do? Your first move is going to be to play the Ice Golem one square to the opposite lane at the river. That's going to distract the Elite Barbarians into the center of the map. After you do that, you play the Musketeer a few squares in front of your King Tower, right where Jordan just played the Musketeer. Now, the Elite Barbarians by that time will just be finishing off the Ice Golem, and then you want to play your Skeletons, and then the Skeletons will distract them while the Musketeer finishes off the job. Now, it might sound like an expensive counter. After all, you're spending 7 elixir to counter the 6 elixir Elite Barbarians, but actually your Musketeer is still alive and well, so you actually make out pretty well in the deal, and the Elite Barbarians will never get to your tower. So that's going to be your go-to method to counter the Elite Barbarians. Okay, so now let's talk about Graveyard. Again, you can counter Graveyard very well with this deck, you just have to do it properly. So the Musketeer is mainly going to be used not necessarily to counter the Skeletons spawned by Graveyard, but rather to target whatever's coming down the lane. So it could be a Mega Minion, it could be an Ice Golem, it could be a Bowler. You're going to want the you're going to want the Musketeer targeting that troop, whatever the tankier troop is coming in the lane. And then you're going to be using your Ice Golem and your Skeletons in conjunction with Zap to take care of the actual Skeletons. Of course, just remember and be cognizant of the fact that your Ice Golem is going to kill a bunch of Skeletons upon destruction, so you don't want to time your Zap where your Zap is killing the Skeletons that would otherwise have already been destroyed by the Ice Golem's destruction damage. And then lastly, the tanky decks. So whether it be a Lava Hound deck or a Giant deck or a Golem deck, you're going to be relying very heavily on your Musketeer. So once you know your opponent is playing one of those type of archetypes, don't use your Musketeer in needless situations. Make sure you save her, and the placement is going to be key here. Look at exactly where Jordan's Musketeer is right now. You want to place the Musketeer by the wall, not towards the King Tower, especially against tanks. The reason being is because you don't want your Musketeer to be targeting the tank. You're going to want to pull your tank off towards the center of your side of the arena using the cannon, and then your Musketeer is going to go ahead and take out the supporting troops first. You're going to be distracting the tank with the cannon, and you can also throw in the Skeletons there to help take the tank down faster. You can see here exactly how Jordan's dealing with this Elite Barbarians Golem deck that is absolutely everywhere right now, and it's very difficult to deal with, but you have a lot of cycle options here. You don't have that big tanky troop in this deck, but you do have the Fireball to do direct damage like you saw Jordan just do. You have the Ice Golem to help distract the Elite Barbarians, buy you some more time while you wait for the Musketeer to finish them off. So offensively in this deck, once you're able to predict what your opponent is going to be countering your Hog Rider with, you want to go ahead and start doing predictive fireballs. Watch the predictive fireball that's coming right now. Jordan knows the opponent is going to play the Elite Barbarians because the opponent is not diversifying their defensive rotation, so he's able to play that predictive fireball, and that's really what differentiates a really good player with just a mediocre player. Using that predictive fireball, and there you go, you can see Jordan able to finish things out. Of course, don't want to play predictive fireballs too early in the match, otherwise you might not be getting enough value out of that fireball. Alright, before I let you guys go, let me give a little love to my annoying trolling clanmates who I love with all my heart. System here, who's actually a graphics guy. We have Korn, a really good player, actually farmed a level 4 Electro Wizard in the Electro Wizard Challenge, so definitely one of our better tournament guys for sure there in Corn. Who else wanted some love here? HBG is one of our good ladder players here, also a co-leader, longtime member way back in the Clash of Clans days. I think probably been with us over 3 or 4 years now at this point. Who else do we have who wanted some love? I think Cooper, another really good player here. Where was he? Everybody kind of spamming the chat here. You can see these guys, they troll me so bad that I actually had to end up clipping a lot of the chat out of this video and editing it together afterwards. Gabe spamming his Twitter here. Follow Gabe, another one of our great players. One of the only 2 players to win the Elite Gaming Gauntlet Challenge, meaning that they beat 5 other clanmates in a row without losing. The other person to do that being Kale. So shout out to those guys. And who else here? Mark, a great co-leader, great player. I don't think he asked for a Twitter shout out, but I'll give him a shout out anyway here. And who else? Oh, very, very important, Jordan. Obviously, Jordan, the guy who actually made these pro tips in today's video. But very important that I give a very special shout out to Heisenberg. He is actually a YouTuber, a very high quality one at that. So if you guys are interested in any high quality ladder maxed out gameplay, go ahead and subscribe to him. I'll include a link to his YouTube channel below. Maybe I'll do a collab with him coming up in 2017. He's relatively new to the clan. He's been here a few weeks, but a huge shout out to him and a huge thanks again to Jordan. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, kind of highlighting the old Trifecta versus the new Trifecta. So guys, good luck, thanks for watching, and as always, take care, guys.